Hi guys, this is going to be your fourth week of the remote learning for PE, and we're going to be covering the methods of collecting information for the physical factor. So the learning intention for your first session today is going to be to identify two different methods of gathering data for the physical factor. The success criteria are to describe what each method looks like and the protocols, and to understand the benefits and limitations of each method. So we're now going to look at some of the methods of collecting data for the physical factor. So these are split into two sections. We've got recognised tests and analytical tools. So the recognised tests are the 12-minute Cooper test for CRE, Illinois agility test for agility, 35-metre sprint test for speed. The other part is analytical tools. So this measures the skill aspect in the physical factor. So these are general observation schedule, focused observation schedule, performance profile wheel, video analysis, model performer, and feedback. So we're now going to look at describing a method. So of course the command word here is describe. If you look at the bullet points below, these will help you answering a describe question. So when you're doing your answer, you need to think, when did you do it? What did the method look like? Where did you complete the method? Who completed the method with or for you? What equipment did you need? What order did you complete the method in? How was the method completed? What information did it give you? What environment was the method completed in? We're now going to look at the benefits and limitations of the 12-minute Cooper run. So it would be a good idea for you to either take a photo or take a note down of this table here. So benefits of this are, it's easy to complete and understand, easy to interpret results, you're just going to get a score from it. The results can be stored as a permanent record, meaning you can compare it at a later date when you retest. So this is a recognised test, it's been used for years and it has normative data for comparison. So once you guys have got your score, you can go online and check if you are poor, average, good or excellent compared to other people of your age. Helps you set targets because, like I was saying, you get a score from it, so you can set a target to improve this score. It provides baseline information to plan your PDP, so you can identify if CRE is a weakness or if it's a strength, and if you need to focus on it in your PDP. So limitations are that you're adding up the scores on your own, so it's human error. So you've got a partner when you're completing a 12-minute Cooper run, your partner's going to be counting your laps. It's quite easy for them to become distracted and get it wrong how many laps you've done. So only assesses one sub-factor. So you're either getting your CRE as a strength or a limitation. So if you identify this as a strength, then you're just going to need to do another test. So it can be time consuming. The performer may not give their maximum effort. So depending on how you might be feeling in that day, what the weather might be like, you just might not give your all and it won't be an accurate representation of your CRE. So the environmental conditions may affect your results, so that whether this being the weather or the surface. So if you've got the wrong footwear for the AstroTurf pitch, you could be slipping at the corners. Again, it's not going to be an accurate reflection of your CRE. So the following slide after this one is going to look at the considerations for the 12-minute Cooper run. So this is going to help you with your analyse questions. What we'd like you to do just now is put into the chat the things that you think are important to consider before you do the 12-minute Cooper run. So to help you with this, you've got to think about if you were to complete the test again or lead an athlete through the data collection process, what would you recommend or tell them to consider to make sure they're going to get the most accurate information? On the right hand side of this slide, you'll see a list of things that are important to consider before you complete a 12-minute Cooper run. So you need to make sure you have the equipment that you need to conduct the test, so a measuring tape, cones, a timer, etc. The environmental conditions such as the weather and the surface you're running on. As we mentioned before, this can have an impact on the accuracy of your results. And next one, you have a partner to keep track of the distance you cover. Again, this can impact the accuracy of your results if your partner is not paying attention. Your score is recorded somewhere safe so that it can be used for comparison at a later date when you retest. So for example, this would be giving your score to your teacher. The next data gathering for physical we're going to look at is the general observation schedule. So as we mentioned before, this is an analytical tool. So this is looking at the skill part of the physical factor. So on the right hand side here, you'll see an example of the observation schedule for badminton. So it has a list of badminton shots down the left hand side, a column for successful, column for unsuccessful, and a column for percentage success. So you need a partner of similar ability. You compete in a full or a half court match up to 21 points. You need an observer stationed at a suitable position at the side of the court to record your shots as you play. The observer determines if each shot is successful or unsuccessful as they are played. At the end of the match, you convert your shots into percentage success rate. So when you're describing a general observation schedule, the points down the right hand side are what you need to consider. So we would like you to complete this in your notebook just now on your Teams page. So write down the process you undertook to complete the general observation schedule in badminton. So where did you complete this? Who did you complete it with? What did you do? And what did you find out? So like I said, I want you to take a wee bit of time now to go into your notebook and write down the process you followed. So again, we're going to do a couple of activities in your notebook just now. So it's up to you guys now to identify some of the benefits and limitations of the general observation schedule. So first task you're going to do is identify the benefits. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. Task number 2 will be to write down as many limitations as you can. Again, you're going to be completing this in your notebook. So we've now got a benefits and limitations table of the general observation schedule. Would be a good idea to take a note down of this, as it will help with your explain and evaluate questions. So on the following slide after this one, there's going to be the considerations for the general observation schedule. So what we'd like you to do now is a wee task is put in what you think you need to consider before you complete the general observation schedule. So same as before, this is what you would think about if you were to speak to an athlete or lead someone through this process. What would you recommend or tell them to consider? On the right hand side here are all the things you need to consider prior to the general observation schedule. So you need to make sure you have the equipment that you need to conduct the test. The observer must be trustworthy and have knowledge of the sport. That will make your results valid and accurate. Once completed, the observation schedule should be stored in a safe place or returned to your teacher. It needs to be easily accessed and compared to later when you retest. And when you're playing your game, it needs to be a partner of similar ability. Again, this will make your results more accurate and reliable as you're showing your skills. So these are the things that will help you when you're analysing. So the last method we're going to look at for physical is one you should be very familiar with, which is going to be the performance profile wheel. So you should be very comfortable with the performance profile wheel by now. For the physical factor, you would choose one sport and then you would place the shots or the sub-factors that are important round the circle. So for this one, we've chosen badminton, and all the shots and sub-factors that are important for badminton are placed round. You guys would then rate yourself out of 10 for each area here, and you would shade from the inside to the outside. So we'll look at a benefits and limitations table for the performance profile wheel. Again, this should be very familiar to you as it's always the same when you do the performance profile wheel. But again, a good idea would be to take a note of this table here. On the slide after this one is going to be a list of the things you need to consider for the performance profile wheel. But what we would like you to do now is put in the chat what you think is important to consider. So start your answer with "it's important to consider," and your teacher will let you know when you have to put this in the chat. So on the right hand side here are all the things you need to consider for the performance profile wheel. This is what you need to remember when you come to analysing the performance profile wheel. So you need to complete this test in a quiet space without distractions. You need to allocate enough time to the process, helping you avoid rushing it and making sure you're accurately comparing to your model performer. The performance profile wheel is stored in a safe place or returned to your teacher. This means it can be easily accessed and compared to at a later stage. You need to make sure you're using a realistic model performer so that you're not going to score too low if you use a model performer at too high a level. As usual, so we're going to go back to our basics today. So in the previous lesson, you were provided with points to include in your describe and explain questions. So for describe, it would be your equipment, your protocol, your people who are involved, when, what, where and who. And for explain, it would be point, meaning, impact. First command word we're going to go over again just now is describe. So we're going to talk about how you would describe a method. So as you can see, there's bullet points here. When you are describing a method, you would look at these bullet points and you would put them into full sentences, and this would give you your descriptive points. So when did you do it? What did the method look like? Where did you complete the method? Who completed the method with or for you? What equipment did you need? What order did you complete the method in? How was the method completed? What information did it give you? What environment was the method completed in? This is going to be a task for you guys to do now. So you're going to use the chat function here and you're going to have a chance of describing the 12-minute Cooper run. So you need to think back to the Cooper run that you've all completed. Think about what equipment was needed, how the course was set out, and what you had to do to complete the test. What did you do once you finished the test as well? So your teacher is going to count down from 3 and you're going to press send on 1 when you've all finished your description. We've got a model answer now that we're going to look at. So as you can see, the answer is in different colours. So each time it changes colour is when a descriptive point ends. Would be a good idea for you guys to take a note of this model answer to refer back to. Next command word we're going to go back over is explain. So to explain a method, you answer by stating why this method is useful. So when you're answering an explain question, you need to remember you always follow PMI, so point, meaning, impact. So for a method, it would start by saying, I use this method because, and you're going to refer to the benefits table. Your meaning would then be given an example or a wee bit of context, so this means that. And your impact, so you should relate this to par VM, or if it helps you create a meaningful PDP with appropriate approaches. So we've now got an example answer for explaining the Cooper run, or explaining why you used it. So as you can see here, the point is in yellow, meaning in green, and impact is in blue. So again, it would be a good idea to take a note of this model answer, and you can refer back to it when you're doing your answers. This week's task, which is due Friday the 5th of February, is going to be 2 describe questions. So first question is describe one method of collecting information on physical factors. Question 2 is describe a different method of collecting information on physical factors. So these are both 2-mark questions, so it's going to be 4 marks in total you're looking for. Something to remember here is when you're asked to describe 2 methods from the same factor, you can't do 2 analytical tools and 2 standardised fitness tests. So we're looking for you to describe 1 standardised fitness test, so this would be your 12-minute Cooper run, and 1 analytical tool. This would be either the general observation schedule or the performance profile wheel. Further to that, the following week there's going to be an assignment due, so that's Friday the 12th of February. This will be a Microsoft form to test your knowledge of what you've learned in Unit 3, the methods of collecting information.